Welcome to the Anarchy Arena podcast, and today we're talking about RPGs, specifically of the tabletop variety. So grab your character sheet and roll those dice as we hope this episode will be a critical hit.
The last time that y'all heard Jack on our show, we got to talk about his love of horror movies and everything involved with that and a few comical tangents therein. But what we didn't get to is what's quickly becoming, what was and is now quickly becoming a very personal love for Jack and has been for John and I for years, and that is tabletop gaming. And there's a reason for that, and that's because Senor Count Jackula over here.
Senor Count Jackula?
That's literally what I called him when he got on the call. He's like, hey, hello, anybody here? I'm like, hey, Senor Jack, what's going on, man? I don't know why. Just a thing that happened. But Senor Jack over here is working on a game of his own.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. It is called Babylon Rising, and it's kind of the basic idea is that imagine if the characters from Monster High, instead of being in a very like kind of twee Barbie doll world, they were actually in a really bloody, fucked up grindhouse flick.
Yeah. And I'm also helping with that, I guess is the way to put it.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm writing, but I'm also kind of like team cheerleader and
like
team
you got this
organizer.
shit. Also, here's a badass idea for a character.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Jack, I'll get DMs for Jack where it's like I fucking hate everything. I don't want to write anymore. And I'm like, listen, man, let's just get through this one page at a time. We can do this. I promise. I understand where you're coming from. Nothing you feel like you're not going to succeed at it, but fuck it. Let's just do it, man. Let's just go out there and have a crazy fucking time. And if nobody likes it, at least we like it.
Yeah. There's always a lot of that. You know, there's always a lot of that, especially when you're doing like a big creative project. That's really a risk. You know, like there's the real possibility this is going to go absolutely fucking nowhere. You know, the only thing that we can pretty much guarantee is that we will at least finish the first book, you know, right. But after that, you know, the market decides, and that's what's terrifying, because I don't even know how much there is a market for this. We're not going to know that until we hit the Kickstarter stage.
Right. So what was your push for this idea to go, you know what? I love tabletop gaming. I love all things horror. I've got some cool ideas. Fuck it. I want to make a game. What was the push that made you go, okay, screw it. It's not just a brain idea anymore. Let's put this idea on paper.
Well, it's not the first time that I've done this. It's not my first rodeo. It's just the rodeo that is most public. Before this, I actually did work I was a freelancer for a couple of RPG companies where I did art and writing. Nothing that anyone would really have remembered, but I worked on supplements for like Vampire and Shadowrun. But only like a couple. Like I've only got like a handful of titles under my belt with that. Because very soon after I started doing that, the bottom kind of fell out of the market. This is back in like the late 90s. You know,
and to be fair, those are also other people's systems. We're building.
This system is being built from the ground up. Based
And what was the base of the system here?
Well, what's the basic system? Okay, the basic system is that basically you have you have your stat. and you have ranks in a skill, and you take a number of die 6s equal to that, throw them, and anything that is a 5 or a 6 is considered a success. That's the basis of it. But
basically dice.
Yeah, it's basically a dice pool
Okay.
game. But the some of the real ideas that are going on here are experiments in changing the way that the role-playing game is actually kind of conceived of, while not
reinventing the wheel too much. We're just putting new hubcaps.
Yeah. Put some new hubcaps on it, like worrying about like the body of the car rather than like, well, is this wheel really round enough? Which is a problem that I sometimes have with a lot of role-playing games, which is we're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. And I find myself going like, well, that shit's been perfected. So like, let's just let it be there.
Right.
For example, a game that I love, but I feel is really guilty of this is Vampire the Masquerade.
I have to agree with you on that. I love Vampire the Masquerade, but
yeah, they go out of their way not to just call it a combat system. And I'm like, guys, it's a combat system.
Yeah, we did a game of that, and I wasn't ever sure if it was the system or if it was the group that we had, but that was a rough game.
It was kind of a combination of both.
Which version of the rules were you using?
Green Book.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. So the system kind of it was clunky, especially in Green Book.
Oh yeah,
but it was also like the players that were in it. I thought they would be excited to do this, and then they didn't know how to play vampires.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that too.
Oh my god, let me guess. Were they basically playing Dungeons and Dragons characters, but in the modern day, and they had fangs? Yeah,
yep, kinda. Yeah,
like that's a problem for that setting.
Yeah, I had a scene where like this perverted hotel owner was raping a child, and I said, "What do you guys do?" And they like stood there, and I'm like, "I told you guys this setting. You are not heroes. Nobody's a hero in this setting. You are a monster. And you need to act like a monster."
Yeah,
that guy is hurting a young child. What?
Yeah, do you ignore it or do you do something about it?
Right.
It's a game of like, it's supposed to be a game of moral question.
Right. Which is we're kind of going into that a little bit with Babylon Rising, but the moral question isn't like, are you a good person or are you a bad person? It's more of, what are you willing to do to survive?
Yeah, what's really important to you? Is a question that the game is kind of always asking, and it's always bringing up the idea, because the real idea is that I don't want to bury the lead, so let me put it like this. In many ways, it really is. In many ways, there is a lot of, it's the world of darkness, but with hookers and blackjack. Because the idea is that you do things for a reason, and sometimes that reason is just because it's fun. Right. Sometimes what we consider monstrous behavior is just simply unsavory and lacking social graces. There is a lot of that. And I know in Vampire, one of the in Vampire 5th, one of the things I really like is the hunger mechanic. The hunger mechanic in 5th edition is really fucking interesting, because basically it's like 5 strikes and you're out. If your hunger increases to 5, you temporarily lose control of your character.
Because you just kind of like, you're like, I need blood.
Yeah. You basically frenzy, and you either, if the player doesn't do something in line with the frenzy, the game master takes over.
Right.
You know, so and I thought that was really interesting because it's like now you're in this kind of like interesting like tug of war with the game master that actually mirrors the mental struggle that the character is having.
Right. Because the whole point of Vampire the Masquerade is I used to be human, now I'm a monster, but I still want to be human.
Yeah, but there's still some shit about humanity that I kind of like.
Right. Like I yes, I am a vampire and I have all these wonderful fucking powers and shit, and I'm superhuman in a lot of ways. But also, I like my friends that I had before I was turned, and I want to keep them. But it's almost an impossible fucking task to keep those friends because I can't let them know what I really am.
Yeah, it's risky. It's a game about it's a game about it's really in many ways a game about social anxiety, which is one of the reasons it's so good. And I really like the way that role playing game. Sorry, excuse me. Like
words are hard. It's okay.
Yeah. I really like the way role playing games set up their world, and not only through the fiction and the setting but also through the rule. You know, because the rules have like the one goal, which is to put you in a state where you believe the action that is happening.
Right. Which is kind of a thing we've been doing with Babylon Rising.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know,
because there have been classes. There's actually been 2 classes I've made right now that specifically have jobs in the world of Babylon Rising. Like,
yeah,
they have jobs.
They inhabit the setting. They exist within it. You know, as much as a wizard is part of whatever world you make with D&D.
Right. You know, and it's weird how I got onto this fucking project.
Well, you got onto this project for a very specific reason, and that was you did a thing. Like I can't explain. I can't express enough how important that was, that you were like, hey, I kind of want to try to do something. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Here, have this thing that I don't know what to do with. And you were like, 30 minutes later, he had something. And that counts for a lot. You know?
See, you're surprised by that. I've known John for 12 years, and if he's really invested in something, that's what happens.
Yeah. That's rare. That's actually very rare. You know, that's how you know, like, a person really has a creative drive, is they're just like, okay, bam. Here we go. This is it. You know, this is what I got. And you'd be amazed. Like, that's how, like, let me put it this way. That's how I got the gigs that I got in the role-playing industry. Is that someone was like, yeah, here's the thing I don't care about. I don't know what to fucking do with, but I need 1,000 words on it. Go. You know?
You're like,
okay. They're like, yeah, we need like internet hotspots. Like, what, you know, like pitch me something. I'm like, VR brothels. Okay, great. Write me 2,500 words on that. Okay, see you in a week. And, you know, I did. I turned it in. The guy was like, oh, would you be willing to also do a bit on Matrix games, like internet games in the world of Shadowrun? Be like, yeah, sure. All right, 2,500 words? Yeah, just about. All right, see you in a couple days. You know, and that is, the ability to do that is absolutely fucking key. You know, the ability to just start the work.
right.
It's invaluable. You know, by the way, dude, do you have any like specific questions? Because I feel like me and John are just like talking, and you're not really part of the conversation.
So, well, okay, so there's partially a reason for that, is because, and I'm gonna pull a Bane here. The two of you were brought up in the tabletop gaming. I didn't know the tabletop gaming until I was a man, which is entirely true. I did not tabletop game until I met John. So, and that was, in my early 20s.
I helped him come out of his nerd closet.
He very much did in very many ways. He helped me come out of my nerd closet. I was very much a closeted nerd. And yeah. So, and oh God, what was that first game you ran me through? It was,
we did Pathfinder first because that was easy.
Yeah. And then, but that was a very short-lived campaign. And then we had one that ran a good 4 or 5 sessions. Mutants and Masterminds? Yeah, Mutants and Masterminds. That was the first real campaign that I did.
That is one of the best superhero tabletop RPGs that's ever been made.
I had so much fun with that game. Matter of fact, John, I don't remember if it was a mechanic in the game or if it was a mechanic John just came up with. Basically, for lack of a better term, he called it awesome points. Is if you can come up with something that makes me go, fuck, I didn't think you were going to do that, and it worked, you get a point to spend whenever the fuck you want on whatever the fuck you want. So
I think what it was is I was like, if you can outthink me, I'll give you a free reroll. Like
something like that, right?
Yeah. Like, come on.
So
I mean, I don't know what to say other than, yeah, come on, absolutely.
So I got really invested in that game. I got really invested in making a character for it. And I specifically remember one scene in a fight we were doing where we were fighting a villain that had like gravity powers to a certain effect. And I had super strength as well as a few other things. And one of our player characters, also had gravity powers. And nothing we did to this villain seemed to work. And then my science brain kicked in. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. So I said, hey, our player character, I can't remember what the player's name was or the character's name was, like, hey, Gravity Man, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to throw him up into space. Okay, what do you want me to do afterwards? I said, put a gravity well under him. And literally crushed him with an infinitesimal black hole. Done. Villain. Boom. Done. 30 seconds. Gone.
Yeah. Like, I think my favorite bit that ever happened in Mutants and Masterminds game. So that's kind of the essence of the superhero game, which is the one-upmanship.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it gets much more difficult. Because like that's how a comic book goes, right? Spider-Man starts, he's swinging webs, he punching and kicking people, and then he runs into the guy that doesn't work on. So then he has to switch it up, and that just keeps escalating. In a game that I ran in Mutants and Masterminds, the characters were on an island, and they were going up against these conspiracy Russian government agents that basically had anti-superhero fields around them. They were like anti-magic fields.
Okay.
Like basically, no power could come in or out of a certain zone around them. And they could make this affect the vehicles. So it's basically like, okay, you can't use your I-beams. You can't, like, telepathically manipulate them. Your invisibility will fail if you get too close. How are you gonna deal with this problem? And they had the most ingenious fucking answer.
Which was?
They had the tank, the big dude, the Hulk dude, pick up giant boulders and throw them at them.
Not magic.
Yeah. Because throwing the rock is a superhuman power, but the rock itself is just a projectile.
It's just a rock.
It was just a rock. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Like, that's...
Hey, John.
You can see that moment in, like, the superhero movie. And they even built it up like a moment where it was like, all right, this is what I do. I take a giant rock, I throw at him, and I go, oh God, what were they called? Nullification. He's like, nullify this. Boom. And I'm like, I think that succeeds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a rock, which makes me think of the greatest D&D story of all time. Hey, John, it's a gazebo.
Oh my God,
it's a gazebo.
The dread gazebo. Holy shit.
I actually
cannot
made that
get
a
enough
monster.
of that story.
Yeah, I actually made that a monster once because I'd always tell that joke to new players, and they're like, "Oh, okay," because it was basically the gazebo story is basically
that thing's legend.
it's legend, but it's also a cautionary tale of pay attention to what the DM's saying. It's a gazebo, and know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yep.
And it also tells a cautionary tale to DM. Explain what the fuck you're talking about, because while you may know what a gazebo is, your players may not.
Yeah.
So I had a gazebo in the game, and they all started doing the fucking gazebo jokes. They attack it, and I say, it's actually a giant mimic. And it starts going after you. Roll initiative.
Fuck. It wasn't just a gazebo.
It was not just a gazebo.
Like, you fuck now, boy. You know? Oh, man. Yes.
Mutants and Masterminds makes me think of one of my favorite characters I've ever made, though, which was basically, what if the Flash and Cyborg kind of homogenized into one character?
Okay.
Are you saying, what if Flash and Cyborg did the fusion dance?
Kind of. So, he had super speed, but he also had incredible technological knowledge.
Right.
So over his like super suit, he would have a belt it was kind of like a utility belt, but it was a tool belt. We were in this game where we were fighting Nazis that had giant Nazi robots, and I had
always
this
a good
character
choice.
in mind. Always a really good choice. You never feel bad about punching a Nazi.
No, you never feel bad about punching Nazis. It just is not possible.
So there was this giant Nazi robot that was in front of us, and it was kind of like a Sentinel in ways. It knew exactly what powers we had. It had the counters for everything. So I said, we can't punch it. We can't laser beam it. We can't do anything. Like, we can't use our technology against it. What can we do? And I was like, wait, I'm going to make a perception check on this. Made the check, and I said, okay, I want to know what its weak structural points are. And the DM looked at me like I had like I was a fucking alien, but then he kind of bullshitted his way through it, because here's a secret, kids: 90% of the time your DM is bullshitting.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God,
and he was like, yeah. He's like, if you go to where the hip joints meet the legs, you could probably loosen a couple of things there. But you're gonna have to get up there. And I was like, I have super speed. I run up there, I loosen all the joints, and I run back. Can I do that? Well, you got to make some rolls. Critical. Can I do that?
Yeah,
you
do that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, because I also have a reputation. If I'm a player in a game, I roll natural 20s like nobody else's business.
But when he's the DM, he can't roll a crit to save his life.
I cannot roll a crit to save my life because I don't want to kill my players.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. It's an interesting balance. Like, the thing I love about role playing games is that they, unlike a lot of other forms of entertainment, it really is about, you really are limited by your imagination, even in the rule set. The rule set is there to provide boundaries. It's not there to, they're not supposed to be restrictive in a bad way. They're supposed to let you know where the edges of this created communal reality are. And now I'm probably getting into a lot of weird, high-minded, bullshit. Oh, it's me up on my fucking game theory bullshit again. Because
But you're absolutely right, though, because too many people, I think, take game systems far too literally and go, no, this is the way it has to be. I'm like, no. That rule is just there as, this is the furthest you can go. You can do anything you want up to this point.
Yeah, this is the point at which you have to start pulling back, because we're letting you know that you're about to essentially break the geometry of the game if you go too much farther.
Right. Well, and also, I'm assuming we're all theater kids.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, here's the thing. I was never technically a theater kid, but I always wanted to be an actor.
Right. So we all know the yes and principle.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Or the no but principle. If you're listening to this and you want to be a DM, learn those two phrases.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of videos out there will say you never say no. No, you have to say no every once in a while.
but follow it up with
But
something.
follow up with something. It's like,
yeah, you can't just say no and leave the other person with nothing.
Right.
Like for instance, just as an example, Chris was in a game and he's like, "Can I like jump off this building, shoot 3 arrows, and then like try to glide myself back up onto the castle, the rampart walls?" And I'm like, "No, but you could do this, this, and this, and that." Or my other favorite phrase, which I shamelessly stole from Matthew Mercer, which is, "You can surely try."
Yeah.
You can try. Let's see how you roll.
My thing has always been, you can do one of those things first. You know,
Right.
like, because everyone runs into the player who tries to move at the speed of their voice.
Yes.
You know, like if there weren't any rules, they would just be wherever they could be doing like 5 different things simultaneously.
Right.
And that needs to be reined in, not because it's too much power, but because if you don't, the other players have nothing to do, and then the game falls apart.
Right.
You know, like that's the big problem with like people who rules lawyer and power games. It's not so much that they have too much power. It's the fact that you're sitting there going, why are the rest of us here?
Yeah.
You are preaching to the fucking choir, my friend.
Oh, good.
Oh my! I can't tell you the amount of groups we've had where there's that one person, and I'm looking at John right in the fucking eyeballs. We both know the person I'm talking about that will try to rule czar the DM, and you're just like, why are we having this argument? Can we just keep playing?
Yeah.
It always ends the same way, which is, I'm saying no and I'm running the game. If you want to run your game, fine. I'll play and I'll do the exact same shit to you, and you know why I'm saying no.
Yeah.
It's like because have you ever noticed those power gamers and rules layers are never the ones that run the fucking game?
Well, yeah,
No.
because you don't get to have the power fantasy of having defeated anything if you're the game master, because you have the giant "I win no matter what" button.
Right.
You know, like you have no statistics. You are not bound by anything other than what will keep the game from completely disintegrating and ending.
Right. And I'm not even gonna lie, there's been a couple of times where that's happened to me. But there's also been a lot of times where it's because of the power gamer that nobody wants to fucking come anymore, and because I was a little bit too nice, let them stay around a little bit too long, and then game died.
Yeah, that will happen.
Yeah,
that can happen.
We've had that happen. We've had that happen plenty of times. Matter of fact, in the history of John and I doing tabletops together, there's only ever been one campaign that's ever finished. All the rest of them have petered out in under 5 sessions.
Well,
One campaign has gone all the way to 20th level and finished the story.
And you know, that's a feat you may never achieve again. I'm just gonna tell you, because
probably
it's the only one I've ever done as a player or a GM.
Yeah, because it's really hard. It's hard because the game master there's a level of flexibility the game master themselves has to have. You know, there's also a level of patience, and there's a level of engagement that the players have to have in order to want to keep doing it. You know, like there's just this weird amount of flexibility that you have to have, and as you play role-playing games more and more, it happens more and more. Like you learn how to do it. It's actually a skill. It's like it's like a muscle. You know, you start working it out and you get better at it.
Yeah, it's like whenever someone asks me if they want, you know, how do I get to be a better DM, or how do I get to DM like you? And I'm like, just do it. Like, I don't know how else to tell you this. Like, sometimes you're not gonna be good at it, and that's okay. But sometimes all you have to do is try, and I guarantee you, at some point, you're gonna get good at it, or you're gonna learn that you're better as a player.
Yeah.
I ran my first campaign when I was like 21. It was miserable fucking affair.
I've been running games for so long. I don't even know when I started. I'm pretty sure I was.
Oh, you're always DM too, huh?
I was almost always the DM, and I'm pretty sure I've been game mastering since I was 16.
See, I was always the player, and then I started DMing, and then everybody else that was a DM just went by the wayside, and I became the only DM in the town.
Yep, John's been my only DM except for the 2 times I've tried it. The first time was a miserable fucking failure.
Well,
the first time was a miserable fucking failure.
That's more your fault, man.
It was most definitely my... No, it absolutely was my fault because I made a critical error as a DM. So, boys and girls and other various personages, here's a tip for you if you want to DM. Have a story. Absolutely have a story in your head of how you want things to go. Do not do anything more than an outline, because first thing your players are going to do is break your story into tiny little pieces. And that was my mistake on that first game I tried to run, is I wrote out a full story.
Bad idea.
And when my players broke my game, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. You want it. What you really want to be doing is you really want to be going, okay, here are all the players, meaning not necessarily the player characters, but like, here are all the NPC players. This is what they want.
Right.
This is who they are. And this is what they're doing. You know, like, what are we all doing? All right. They all want, like, or have something to do with the vampire in the castle, or the dragon's horde, or the whatever. And once you've figured that all out, the players can do almost anything, because it's not about stopping the player. It's about being able to match them.
Right.
And if you have those characters, and if you have characters in your mind, and you know how they work and how they think, then you know how they do certain things. And I don't mean like, and you can't ever say, oh, well, they just wouldn't fail. That's not acceptable. You know,
no.
Like, you have to figure out how they accept defeat.
Right.
You know, and sometimes the answer is legitimately badly.
Yeah.
You know,
it was funny though, because the first game he ran was a Mass Effect game.
Yes, because I'm a massive sci-fi and space nerd. And I really wanted a Mass Effect game.
Science fiction tabletop RPGs are so difficult.
Okay, in fairness to me and that game, at the time there was no legitimate on paper system for a Mass Effect game, so I kind of co-opted one by throwing 3 different things together. Star Trek now has a wonderful tabletop system that works beautifully, that I've played. I've ran twice and played once, called Star Trek Adventures. You should look it up.
God,
it's awesome.
I can't.
So
my
good.
problem is I can't stand the idea of adventuring in Star Trek.
He's got a point there, man. Where's all the fun on the ship?
There's plenty. We didn't get a chance to get to it because our game died after 2 sessions.
Here's a big
plenty.
question right out of the gate that I always have.
Okay.
All right, so in this system, who do you play? Do you just start out as the bridge crew?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to be the bridge crew, but you can literally be anybody on the ship you want.
Okay.
As long as there is one person as captain. One player has to be captain. And I think we decided that based on everyone roll a dice. Whoever gets the highest roll, you get to be captain.
Okay. All right. That's at least something. Because I noticed that in a science fiction game, particularly space exploration, you do not, if you play the scrubs, it's really frustrating and really annoying. Like, I don't know how else to say it. You do not want to role play the person who's constantly being given orders. You know,
right.
You don't want to do that. Like, no one does.
Which is kind of the reason why that game failed. Let's be real here.
That game failed partially because I am very much a Star Trek canon czar.
Uh-oh.
And because the way it worked was the first time we tried to play, I asked John to run the game because I wanted to play. And I think we very quickly realized, wait a minute, I'm a lot more knowledgeable on Star Trek. If it's going to happen, I need to run it and let John enjoy playing along with everybody else.
Right.
So when we changed it up and I ran it, it ran a little bit better.
Until we had the problem, and it kind of became a real life problem of basically it was like, the person that was playing the captain was like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, our captain didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Man, yeah. See,
and I was playing number 1. So
yeah, I actually my favorite like science fiction ship role playing game, the one where I'm like, ooh, we're closing in, like we've almost got it, is Fantasy Flight's Rogue Trader.
that's the one that's set in the 40K.
Yeah, it's the one set in the 40K universe. It's almost got it, because the thing that's really cool about it is because it's not, you don't have a rigid command structure. You've got the Rogue Trader who's supposed to be in charge, and then everyone else plays a member of the bridge crew. And it works really well because one, you're separated not by rank, but by job. So if you're the combat person, you're called the arch militant. And what you do is you command people during combat. You know, like you're not just like, you know, you're actually the battle tactician, and you're actually giving orders alongside the Rogue Trader. If you are playing the engine seer, you know, the tech priest, your whole job literally is, we need more power, Captain.
You're the Scooty.
You're the Scotty, and you've got to get those thrusters all the way up, you know, or whatever it is that is happening. Because the other thing that was really cool about the ship combat system is every time something happens, there's a reaction.
Yes, Star Trek had that same thing. Every time you fire or are fired upon, there is a reaction on your ship in some way. There's a power draw, or a critical system needs to be repaired, or something.
Yeah.
Didn't Fantasy Flight make that game too? Or was it Green Ronin?
Star Trek?
Yeah.
No, Star Trek was Modiphius.
Modiphius made a lot of games that I never heard of.
Right?
They've also done Conan.
They did a Conan game? Oh my god.
Yep, Modiphius did a Conan game.
Where did they come from? Because like they've got
kinda out of the blue-ish.
Yeah, because like they just sort of appeared one day. I first heard about them because they became the publishers of Vampire the Masquerade. At least for a little while they were, and now everything has moved back over to Onyx Path. You know, but they still got the Modiphius. It's one of those things where, like, I don't know what this company actually does because I don't understand how this corporate structure works. You know, I know they make games, but I don't understand who the creative team is because it seems so separate from the actual company. It's stupid. Right. You know, like I don't know. I don't know anyone who actually works for Mophidius directly. You know, it's just weird.
If you do get some downtime and you're interested in the system, Geek and Sundry has a whole, I think it's like 70 episodes worth of their Star Trek campaign with Eric. What's his name? Eric.
I'll check it out, but I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Anyway, Eric's running it, and it's got a lot of Geek and Sundry guys in on it, and they develop an amazing story, and it's really, even if you just watch for the story, if someone turned that into a Star Trek TV show, I'd watch it in a heartbeat. That's how good their story is.
Yeah. I'll watch a Star Trek show, no problem. You know, it's just the idea of playing in that universe for some reason just gives me a headache. You know, because
that's also because we grew up in a time where space games as tabletop RPGs weren't good.
Oh god, no. For the longest time, what was there? Traveler? Yeah, Traveler. The game the game where you could die in character creation. Are you fucking kidding me?
Wait. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Okay, so the way Traveler works is you have the life path system.
Okay.
So when you create your character, let's say you want to be a noble.
Okay.
Right?
I want to be a noble. Right. I've done that before. I know better now.
Yeah, well, now you know better. All right, I want you to roll and see what your first life path is. Boom. My house is in ruins. well, I guess you being a noble's gonna suck.
Yeah, you're now a noble with
And
no
then-
money and no title. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That seems counterintuitive.
you think?
Just a little, you know, like, holy crap. And it doesn't, let me put it this way. The problem is that they were like, we're trying to simulate the unfairness of life, which is not really conducive to a power fantasy.
Right.
No.
Nobody plays an RPG to experience real life. I don't care what anyone says. If that's what you're doing, then may I suggest going outside?
Yeah.
Read a
You
book?
have to make
Go play with glass in the middle of traffic.
Yeah, like fucking eat paint, you know, like just you're gonna have a better time because like the reality is that where I think role-playing games really excel is in making things awesome. And that's where it has to be. And you can't make things awesome by making it less awesome. You just have to find better ways of getting around the character limitation. For example, like take a situation like, okay, you're a character, but you're missing both arms. All right, how do we make that?
Am I playing GURPS?
Yeah, like how do you make that awesome? How do you make it awesome to be a guy with no arms? And you could be like, all right, the guy's got the deadliest headbutt in the planet. You know, like he can headbutt anything.
He has sharpened his big toenail into a knife 3 inches long that he stabs his victims with.
Exactly. You've got to start thinking like that. Because that's the way anime does it. Like, what's One Punch Man is an amazing show because it's got the one. You ever watch like those like cartoons where they would have a bit and the bit goes down the exact same way every single time, no variation?
Yes.
You know, like Buttons and Mindy from fucking Animaniacs. Okay, One Punch Man works on that same principle. You know, which is basically, okay, so the minute he can throw a punch at a guy, the guy's defeated. That's it. Like that's.
But we've got to get him to that punch.
Yeah. But what can we throw in front of this guy so that One Punch Man has to get in these crazy adventures just to get within punching distance? You know,
and that's the reason why that's one of the greatest animes I've ever watched. And the other fun thing about RPGs, and I think we should sort of maybe end on this. Yeah. Or wait, how much time we got?
We got a good 20 minutes here.
All right, well, okay, this will definitely take up the fucking time.
Okay.
The great thing about RPGs is the stories you fucking tell from those campaigns.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not all those stories are good, though, are they, John? Not all of those stories are fun, are they, John?
Hey, dude. That's your fucking fault.
You gotta take the bitter with the sweet. The capacity for great creation is also the capacity for great bullshit. You know, like just you have to just fucking live with that.
Okay.
That's a life skill,
you want to hear some
kids.
bullshit?
You could fucking take that.
That is a life skill, kids. There's a shirt you need. You want some bullshit? Here's some bullshit for you. So when I was first starting out, I was real shitty at character creation because I didn't quite know how it worked, to be honest with you. So basically, I would have someone help me make a character. And usually they would suggest, I think for this game, you should try out this class. Okay, cool. I'll try it out. So we're playing with John's cousin, and he's like, you know what? I think this game, you should try being a paladin. Here's what you get when you become a paladin. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't seem me at all. I mean, I like to swear, I like to drink, and I got to be a goody two-shoes. I don't know if I can play that. He's like, no, just try. It'll be fun. It'll be fine. Okay, fine. So he does me up a paladin character. Herein lies the inherent problem that I tried to explain to him. I can't be a fucking pally in real life, let alone in a game. So
that's a problem.
John, I believe, is running this game.
No. I wasn't running it. No.
Was Scott running this?
Scott was running it. I was playing a.
Yes. So Scott takes us in to a brothel that also happened to be a temple for what do you call it? I forget now.
It was basically like it was a brothel / temple for a goddess of fertility.
That's what it was. Goddess of fertility. So it turns out that one of our player characters, this was her goddess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which my character was not aware of at the time. Being a paladin that you just took into a brothel, paladin's not going to react real great to being in a brothel, right, Jack?
Depends.
Well,
depends on what they're a paladin of.
Yeah, if you're cool.
Yeah. The perfect paladin is supposed to be cool wherever. Like your decision is you're not there to be like the difference between the cleric and the paladin, in my opinion, is that the cleric passes moral judgment, whereas the paladin is just supposed to be the exemplar. You know, like you're just supposed to do it. You know, so paladin walks into to a brothel, and to him, every hooker is just a princess.
Right.
You know,
I tried to explain this to you when we were playing the game. And you didn't listen to me.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand at the time. So I made the mistake of my character making a disparaging comment about the large amounts of whores in the room.
Literally says the word whores. I want to point this out.
Literally said the word whores in this brothel temple, at which point the female player character, whose goddess temple we're in at this point, looks at me and says, "Oh, really? That's how you feel?" And proceeds to have my male paladin character ass raped by 15 elves. Shit you not. That's not a euphemism. That's not a joke. Had my character ass raped by 15 male elves.
And I know what you may be asking out there, dear listener. What was John doing during this?
Laughing hysterically. That's what he was doing.
John was busy fucking a water elemental because, well, that's a story you want to tell again.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fucked up shit that happens during a game, that's what makes the game. You know?
Yeah, like the one time I killed a Hydra in one turn. So I told you about how, as a player, I roll critical hits every time.
Right.
This got put to the test. A friend of ours was running a game. It was his first game. I think I'm really just not a good player to have if it's your first game.
I think you're right.
Because
your inner blue deck comes out.
Well, I was playing as a war cleric, and I had like a battle axe. I also had cleave. So, the way cleave works is if you hit something and you kill it, or you succeed at hitting it, you can hit the next thing. And so we're fighting a Hydra. And I was like, okay, can I like jump on this thing's back and just start slashing the heads? And he was like, yeah, sure. Because he knew that if I didn't kill it outright, it's going to become a big problem. Well, I start rolling. First roll, natural 20, critical hit,
Clean.
Decapitate. Next roll, natural 20, decapitate. Next roll, natural 20. And I'm like, I'm doing this out in the open. I'm not like one of those like pick up the dice as soon as I roll it. It's like bam, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm killing your big monster this episode. Oh shit.
Yeah. And you as the game master, you gotta roll with it. You have to roll.
He didn't know that.
You know?
Yeah, he didn't know that because it was his first fucking game. So I kill his Hydra, and he's like, I'm gonna need like 30 minutes to plan. So you guys do whatever you need to do. And like he's like in a cold sweat freaking out. And I'm like, I feel so bad.
Oh my god.
I didn't mean to roll 4 natural 20s in a row and cleave through your entire fucking big bad.
Yeah, well, I didn't. All I did was roll dice. I didn't know how it was going to go down. To be honest, in my DM mind, I was like, this is not going well. But I was like, no, this character would absolutely just go in hacking and slashing. Just so happened, I guess my god was on my side that day.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you get to kill that. Like,
Yep, that shit'll happen. You know, that's what makes, well, that type of thing is what makes a role-playing game what it is. You know, there's a certain, it's interesting. A role-playing game is really all about, and there we were. You know?
Yeah.
There we were. Okay, well, what happened? Oh, well, okay, so you gotta imagine, here we are. We've just entered into the Jin's lair, and all of a sudden, two of the players they gotta go home. Something's gone wrong. They gotta leave. And the game master goes, well, we could just end the session, but the two remaining players say no.
We've got
this. We're going in. And you're like, hey, well, I mean, it's not inconceivable that two characters can go in and, okay, yeah, they're playing a Scion and a fucking sorcerer. There's no fighter. There's no thief. Like, it's just them.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. No, it was not good. But for some reason, and it was just a nonstop cavalcade of like 17s and higher, no matter what I did. And so you're just sort of sitting there and I'm like, okay, they have to succeed, but what can I do to make this more interesting? And the only thing that I could do was throw other things at them that they would find really dumb ways of getting around. And as a result, it's one of the most memorable fucking sessions ever. They still refer to it as the Merv Griffin episode. And the reason, what they really should call it is the Milk and Cheese episode. Because, have you ever seen the comic Milk and Cheese?
I'm unfamiliar.
Okay. We've talked about it before, Jack. It's really good. You need to look it up.
Okay, so the thing about Milk and Cheese is it's a carton of milk and a wedge of cheese, and all they do is just create mayhem. That's just everything. You know, and they did this one comic book, this one comic page, actually it's more than one page, but all it was is them beating shit up while screaming Merv Griffin. The whole comic, like that was the whole thing. You know, punch a dinosaur in the face, Merv Griffin. You know, like, fucking, like, kick a little kid in the balls, Merv Griffin. Like, launch nuclear missiles, Merv Griffin.
Merv Griffin.
Like, what the fuck is this? And so, because we were all familiar with that comic, because we're all comic nerds. That just became known as the Merv Griffin episode because they would keep running into rooms, finding really dumb ways of getting around the monster while creating more problems simultaneously. Like, hey, we're going to run into here, and you get in there, and there are a bunch of henchmen, and you don't know what to do. Sorcerer's like, hey, there are a bunch of adventurers out here raiding the castle. And I'm like, all right. Roll deception. Roll deception. You have a -20. You know, and then he's like, it's a good thing my bonus is +15. Because the guy, his charisma stat was just super fucking high. And you're sitting there and you're going like, man, he's a fucking wizard. He's a fucking wizard. Like, why is he fucking... Okay, did he spend all of his feats on any spellcasting shit? No, it's just all in bluff. He put all of his feats in like social feats. So I'm like, all right, there's a 50% chance that this might, no, there's a 100% chance this is going to work because he rolls a 20.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, all right, they believe you. And they run out, but they're only going to believe you for a little bit. And he's like, okay, we close the door behind us. And I use, it was like telekinesis to move this piece of furniture, which we had established was made of solid gold. And then I made the mistake of telling them that there is no way that they could carry it out of here. And even telekinesis would only get it so far.
But far enough to blockade the door.
For them to bar the fucking door. And I'm like, okay, but they are genies. They're going to get through it. You know? And he's like, that's why we run out the other door. Because this is like a feast chamber. There's got to be another way out. And I'm like, well, according to the map, there is. So, yeah. He's like, okay, awesome. And they keep repeating this. They keep doing this. And it's like, okay, we got to convince these guys that this attack is really fucking happening. This is what I do. I look in the kitchen. I just cast Fireball at the first thing I see. And you're like, okay, you see a chef, Fireball. Okay, dude. It goes off. It doesn't do any damage. He's like, but it causes an explosion, right? He's like, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, good enough. And they just keep going. And then finally, I'm like, all right, it's time to bring out the muscle. I had created a muscle character, which was this Efreet princess who was a whip master. You know, like huge amounts of perception, huge amounts of damage with a flaming whip. Like I'm like, okay, she I didn't want to do this because I knew she would just paste them, you know, but it's time. This has got to stop.
When the only option you got left is the nuclear option.
Yeah, you got to take it. And so I'm like, all right, make a perception roll. Okay, this door is opening. Oh, crap. What's coming through? And I describe her, you know, she has black skin, literally flame hair made out of flames. You know, she's wearing brass armor, you know, and in the middle of describing her, he's like, I jump up into the ceiling. And I'm like, what?
Okay.
He's like, I jump up into the ceiling. He had like the prodigious leap spell. He had the leap spell. And I was like, okay, well, you could definitely jump up there. And he's like, and I have my ring of spider climb, so I just stand there. And I'm like, okay, but what about Leah? And she's like, well, I can actually run up walls. Because she's psionicist. And I was like, okay, so you run up the walls, make a hide check, which tells you which version of the game we were using. And they're like 18 and 20. I'm like, haha, but her perception is like plus 17. This has got 1. 1. Jesus. And I'm sitting there going like, you got to be fucking kidding me. All right. She walks past you, really obviously looking for you. And they're like, okay, we crawl over the ceiling, go out the door she came in, and then lock it behind her. And I'm like, okay. So they do that, but they then all of a sudden they're like, all right, you do that, and you hear this voice, this booming, loud voice, like, who enters my chamber? And they're like, oh shit, it's the Efreet King, you know? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, what do you do? So the whole reason they're in this thing is they're supposed to rescue a princess, okay? It was very typical, like, kind of setup. The sorcerer goes, all right, what I do is I start immediately picking up as much gold as I can and putting it in my pockets. And I'm like,
seems legit.
I'm like, all right, make a
but why though?
Roll? You know, because
I don't even know what you're doing,
but clearly some sort of bluffing is happening. And he's like, okay, I did this. I just want him to stop for a single combat round. He succeeds. It wasn't a crit success, but it was like, he succeeds. And I'm like, okay. He looks at you and goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm robbing you. This gives the psionicist enough time where it was basically like, okay, that takes a combat round. What is Leah doing? And she's like, okay, so I have this self-teleport ability that works instantly. I'm going to push it all the way, jump into the cage that has like the princess that we need to rescue, and then teleport out with her. It will use all my points, but I can do it. And I'm like, all right. All right, that starts happening. He turns around and basically he's like, okay, Then my next combat turn, this is the guy who's like, I'm robbing you. I throw the biggest spell at him I possibly can. I can't even remember what spell he picked. You know, I remember it wasn't Fireball
Bubble.
because, like, he's a fucking Efreet.
Yeah,
That wouldn't have worked. But it was like, I think it was like Call Lightning or something.
Call Lightning or Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. I think it was Lightning Bolt. And I'm like, okay. And this is like the last spell slot he's got. So I'm like, okay. So I throw he's like, I throw lightning at him and then I make fun of his shoes. And I'm like, what? He's like, okay, all right, make a bluff roll. All right, you succeeded. He comes over and he's like, all right, now. Then he looks at the Countess who is playing Leah and goes like, all right, this is where you have got to get back. You've got to go through with the plan and get back here in 3 combat turns because I can only take 3 punches. And I'm sitting there and I'm going like, what is this fucking plan? And then and then they lay it on me. And they're like, okay, remember at the beginning of the campaign where you gave us an item that would allow us to teleport to a very specific location and back, and it would slow down time, but only while someone was actually in the location. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I do.
Shit,
I remember.
Why did I give you this?
Like, okay, so the location that they had this item that would immediately teleport them to a Jin's magic shop for like 10 minutes and then immediately teleport them out. So they had 10 minutes of time where they were in this kind of like time state where Leah goes in there, finds a Jin slaying weapon and teleports back.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's see how much it is to find a Jin slaying weapon. And I'm like, yeah, that's way under the treasure factor for such a specific fucking weapon. You know, because it's one of those like, all right, it's like, you know, plus infinity against Jins, but like, you know, if a goblin looks at it wrong, it's going to fall apart. And so they come back, they don't kill the Jin, but they manage to escape. And I'm just sitting there going, I cannot believe this happened. I cannot believe that without me fudging a roll, you skated through this entire fucking adventure.
So I have to say, you said one of the players in this was the Countess, right? So all due respect to her, this either had to be the best 2 players ever to play a game with or the worst 2 players to ever play a game with.
This was an amazing fucking session because she and our friend Mike, they were just on fire.
This is like a gaming session that they write songs about that go into history books.
Absolutely. Fucking absolutely. I mean, just god damn it, dude. This was also the adventure where one of my friends who we have dubbed the Baby Macer.
That's not a name you want to be called in public.
No, he wanted to be called this.
But he was dubbed the Baby Macer. He decides that he's going to get into a duel with a fire giant, then cheats, and then wonders why the fire giant has declared a blood feud against him. You know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I'm not saying you can't cheat. I'm not saying you can't get away with this shit. I am saying don't act surprised when that character shows up and is like, just tries to kill you. You know, like...
Baby Mason! Boom! Why are you mad? Oh, shit.
Yeah. Why are you mad, bro? Why are you mad? God damn it.
Well, if you... Go ahead,
I was about to say, like, no, dude, like, players will fuck up everything. You know, they will fuck up everything. And you just have to roll with it. You just have to learn to roll with it.
That
when
is
you
the
DM,
best DM tip you could ever fucking get.
Yes, that is the best tip and the biggest lesson you have to learn is if you have a plan, your players will screw it within 5 minutes.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah,
right.
6 if you're lucky.
No plot, no fucking role playing game plot survives encounter with the players. You know, you have to think of this as an evolving story, and whenever the players do something, you want to be able to do the yes and. You want to be able to say yes and. You know, my character does this. You don't, as the game master, you can't say your character doesn't do that. That's not how you handle every situation. Now, there are going to be some situations where you got no choice. So you need to save them up. You know, because if that's every time, then you're not playing a game.
Right.
Well, if you're interested in having adventures like these and having stories like these of your own, then we highly suggest you keep on the lookout for Babylon Rising. And how can people keep tabs on the development of your game, Jack?
Well, you can come down to the streams on twitch.tv and just ask in the chat. The answer may be, yeah, we're still working on that shit. We're going to be having a Kickstarter later this year. And until then, hey man, like just start thinking of really cool modern monster combos and fucked up things that you can do, because that's part of what this is.
And if you're lucky, you can catch either me or Jack working on it on our Twitch channels.
Yes.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Because earlier today, pre-recording this episode, that's what Jack was doing. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. I will randomly stream while I'm writing this stuff, because sometimes when you're making a system unlike one that has been done before, the problem is getting the words out of your head.
Right.
You know, so I like to talk to people while I do that, because for some reason that always helps me.
Yeah, I was having trouble with the enticer on one of the abilities, and someone in my chat was like, why don't you just like think of Lucifer? And I was like,
that's a great
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. You're like Lucifer from the fucking Netflix show. Absolutely perfect.
Right. But yeah, again, me and Jack working on Babylon Rising. If you want to ask any questions, contact Jack. If you or me, I'm on Twitter at John_the_Joker.
And I'm on
Jack.
My Twitter is at Count_Jackula.
And of course, Chris, you're here with us. I think we're actually gonna. We said previously, before we actually started recording this, you want to possibly join us for a test game, right?
Yes, I would absolutely love to be a part of the play test, because this system sounds like so much fun. I would be excited to be a part of this game. So yeah, when you run a play test, I'm down.
Yeah, no problem, man. That should be easy enough.
Yeah. And if you want to follow you, Chris, where are you at?
I am at the Metal Barrett. No underscores. I feel like I have to put an underscore in my Twitter handle now to be part of the Cool Kids Club.
You know,
right?
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Anarchy Arena Pod as well. Jack, I know we talked about it before, but you stream. What days do you usually stream?
I stream most days at this point, but the ones where I absolutely make the biggest effort to do it regularly is Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and again it's Sunday 9 p.m. Pacific Standard. And that is on my Twitch channel, which you can find by looking for Count Jackula.
And there will be links in the description of the audio version as well as the YouTube version. Is to find everywhere that you can look up Jack and keep tabs on Babylon Rising and everything else that Count Jackula has been doing.
Yeah.
But on that note, we're going to let him get back to work on Babylon Rising. Jack, thank you so much for having been with us for these 2 episodes again.
I only hope that the demand for a Monster High via Grindhouse fucking setting is something that the people will enjoy and want. Yeah.
Oh, they want it. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, no, there's people that don't even play RPGs that want to play this game. I can tell you that for a fact.
Really? Oh,
So,
okay. That's
yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah, no, I have people that have read or I've told them about this game. They're like, that sounds really cool. When's it going to be available? So
okay,
like I said, Jack, we have lightning in the
I hope so.
But anyways, thank you guys for joining us here for this episode of the Anarchy Arena podcast. Can't wait to see you guys for the next episode. Well, I guess the cat is out of the bag. Babylon Rising is happening, and make sure to keep a lookout for it. Thank you once again for joining us on this deep dive into RPGs, and I want to thank Count Jackula for being here. All the social links will be in the description, and of course, you could follow us at Anarchy Arena Pod, and we will see you guys next time.